This video is sponsored by Audible. For a free audiobook, use the link in the description below. Today is Monday, October 7th, and Reactor Magazine has released 2 more preview chapters for the upcoming book, Wind and Truth. This week, the 2 chapters are chapters 19 and 20, so in this video, I'll be giving my thoughts on these 2 chapters. Chapter 19 is titled Ruled by Voices, and we get another epigraph that is from the 4th parable of the in-world book titled The Way of Kings. This chapter is from Szeth's perspective. He and Kaladin are just now approaching the Misted Mountains at the edge of Shinovar. They're approaching from the south, which is apparently close to where Szeth grew up. We see that even though Kaladin and Szeth are flying through the air and it's extremely windy, Szeth is still able to understand what Kaladin is saying because windrunning permitted sculpting airflow. We also find out that although Szeth has reached the 3rd ideal and Nail has given him leave to use the Surge of Division, his Spren has still forbidden him from using that surge because it's not the right time. As soon as they see the first signs of soil, Szeth is overwhelmed by emotion. It's been many years since he left Shinovar. We also see a new type of Spren called Confusion Spren. They look like streaks of violet extending from a central point, expanding behind Kaladin. Kaladin and Sil both think that the unmoving plant that Szeth is looking at is extremely odd, and they ask him if it's a sign of the problems in his homeland. Szeth's High Spren speaks with him, and we find out that Szeth still doesn't know the name of his Spren. High Spren apparently don't give it out lightly, and his Spren also seems very haughty, which might turn out to be a characteristic shared by all High Spren, but we'll just have to wait and see on that. We also see that Szeth is still hearing voices basically non-stop. I'm really hoping that Kaladin can use his skills as a therapist and help Szeth deal with these voices. We get some Nightblood humor, which I always enjoy, and Szeth questions if Kaladin has become a coward, which causes them both to bicker a bit. Szeth is confused why Kaladin would be so annoyed with him when he's simply spitting straight facts. Szeth has been noticing that his afterimage is apparently less prominent now. It's as if he's begun to slowly heal from his revival from death. And we get a description of this scene, which is what I'm pretty sure this official artwork was based on. Then we get to chapter 20. Chapter 20 is titled 3 Vital Points of Defense. For the epigraph, we get another part of the 4th parable from The Way of Kings. This chapter is from Navani's perspective. It picks up just after Wit announced his finding of the loophole in the contract and of Odium's change of vessel. The sibling and the Stormfather speak in both Navani and Dalinar's minds. They confirm that Rayze is dead by sensing a subtle change in the tones of Roshar. They aren't able to identify the new vessel though. We also see that the Stormfather really hated Rayze. The sibling hints that the Stormfather was once much happier and not so angry all the time. This is pretty hard to imagine. I wonder what changed him though. Maybe the death of Tanavast. Wit explains to the monarchs how contract with shards work. If a shard breaks a promise, it opens them up to destructive forces from other shards. We find out that apparently the idea of officially moving the capitals of each kingdom to another place, such as Urithiru, would violate the contract. So although that's a pretty clever idea, it just wouldn't work. Stargyle and Dalinar work together to pull up Google Earth, create a light-weaving map of Roshar. The sibling is amazed at this ability and tells Navani that the ancient Radiants weren't able to do this. We find out that the enemy fleet heading for Thaylen City has roughly 40,000 troops, and the fleet heading for Azamir has roughly 15,000. But the worst of the fleets is the one heading for the Shattered Plains. It contains only 1,000 individuals, but it's almost exclusively made up of fused. Navani notices Adolin has his shard blade summoned, and he's quietly narrating what he's seeing in the meeting to it. She finds this odd, but of course we know that he's just talking to Maya. So he's apparently including Maya in more day-to-day aspects of his life, which is really cool to see. Maybe he'll bond Maya and become an edge dancer after all. That is, if he isn't dead by the end of this book. Then the monarchs and generals all talk over where the best troop placement would be for defending the 3 vital points that the enemy is targeting. There's a few disagreements along the way, but it all ends up getting worked out. And then we see that the sibling is able to form a column of glowing light from glass discs in the ceiling and floor. The sibling speaks with all the monarchs in the meeting speaking and reassures everyone that the tower's defenses are very tight. If the enemy enters Urithiru, Fused will fall unconscious, Regals will have their forms stripped from them, and common singers will lose access to their rhythms. Because of this, the Mink suggests that they use the 20,000 troops that normally defend the tower out to help defend the 3 vital points, mainly Thaylen City. I have a bad feeling that the enemy is gonna find a counter against these defenses and invade regardless when the tower is least defended, but we'll see what happens. Adolin volunteers to lead the defense of Azamir, Jasnah plans to lead the defense of Thaylen City, and Dalinar is gonna have Sigzil lead the defense of the Shattered Plains. Dalinar tells Sigzil that he'll send the Stormwall to back him up at the Shattered Plains. Is this an ability that we've seen before? I don't remember. That's a really cool ability though, and very useful if he can just command the Stormfather to move the High Storm wherever he needs it. Unless he's referring to a group of soldiers called the Stormwall. I don't know. I'm a bit confused because I just realized that Stormwall's capitalized here like it's a proper noun. Let me know in the comments. Navani hopes to herself that Dalinar and Adolin will work out their issues. And Adolin does end up reluctantly speaking with Dalinar. He briefly tells him about Shallan's experience with the Ghost Bloods. Adolin gets angry at Dalinar and Angerspren pool like blood around his feet. We find out that this is one of the few varieties of Spren that ignore Navani's orders. That's pretty interesting. I wonder if it's because they're so bestial or if it's something else. Maybe we'll find out. Dalinar gives Adolin a bondsmithing that will let Adolin understand the Azish language for the next few weeks. It will only work while he's in Azir. This is due to how connection works in the Cosmere. And this chapter ends with Dalinar telling Navani that he needs to speak with her, Wit, and Jasnah about his encounter with cultivation. Alright, so those were 2 chapters that didn't have a lot of action going on. It seemed that these 2 chapters were mostly setting up for the 3 big battles that are going to take place. Let me know what you guys thought of these 2 chapters down in the comments. And I want to say thank you to Audible for sponsoring this video. If you use the link in the description to sign up for a 30-day free trial of Audible Premium Plus, you can get a free audiobook of your choice. I suggest using it to pre-order Wind and Truth, so you can get Wind and Truth for free. Then on December 6th, you can download the audiobook right away and listen to it on Audible. But you don't have to use it for Wind and Truth, you can use it for any book you choose. So once again, just use the link in the description below and get your free audiobook. And thank you to the patrons and channel members. You guys really help make this content possible. That's it for this video, guys. I'll see you in the next one.